The July sun burned mercilessly over the dusty town of Deadwood, South Dakota. The air was thick with sweat, whiskey, and the sound of greed. It wasn't unusual for horses, cattle, or even mail-order bride to be sold at the town square, but today, something was different. A hush fell over the crowd as Sheriff Halverson stepped aside to reveal a young Comanche woman slumped in a rickety wooden chair. Her long black hair was matted, her wrists bound, and her eyes stared forward, blank and unblinking. Her name was Naya, and she was paralyzed from the waist down after a fall from a U.S. Army wagon 6 months earlier. Word was she hadn't spoken since. They say she's no good for labor, and she can't bear a child, the sheriff announced grimly. But if someone wants her, her tribe refused to claim her. She's government property now. Someone in the crowd spat. Another laughed. Then a voice rang out from the back. I'll give you $5. Heads turned to see Calder Briggs, a quiet cowboy known for keeping to himself and tending cattle up by Whiskey Ridge. He was tall, leather-skinned, and a man of few words, but he had a past, one soaked in blood and regret from his outlaw days. You serious, Briggs? The sheriff scoffed. I am. Got the coin right here. Sheriff Halverson hesitated. Then, with a shrug of indifference, he said, She's yours. As the paper was signed and the crowd dispersed, Calder stepped forward, removed his dusty hat, and crouched beside the woman. Her dark eyes finally moved, locking onto his. There was no gratitude there, only suspicion, pain, and deep, ancient sadness. Still, Calder said softly, Name's Calder Briggs, and I aim to do right by you. Then, without warning, he turned to the preacher who was closing his Bible nearby. Marry us, Calder said. Right now. The preacher blinked. You sure, son? She deserves a name, a home. She's my wife now. Chapter 2, A Cabin and a Fire. Calder took Naya back to his small cabin near the Red Hills, where wind whispered through sagebrush and the world felt quieter. He built a ramp for her chair, cleaned her wounds, and spoon-fed her stewed beans and boiled potatoes. At night, he slept in a chair by the fire, always close but never touching. You ain't my property, he told her one evening. You can leave, if that's what you want. But until then, I'll treat you like the woman you are, not the thing they think you become. Naya said nothing, but little by little, things began to change. She started eating without help. Then she pointed to words in a book he left by the bed. Home, fire, Calder. Weeks passed. One day, Calder returned from town to find she had moved herself to the porch, watching the horizon with quiet determination. Still, she never spoke, and her legs didn't move. Chapter 3, A Bullet and a Promise. Trouble came one cold August morning. Calder had once ridden with the Red River Gang, a fact he'd buried deep. But ghosts don't stay buried forever. 3 riders appeared, their hats low and their guns loaded. At their head was Frank Delaney, an outlaw with a gold tooth and a scar under his eye. Well, I'll be, Delaney sneered. Briggs, playing house with a red girl. What happened to the man who robbed banks with me in Missouri? That man's dead, Calder replied, standing between them and the cabin. Then we've got a problem. You owe me, remember? You walked out with my cut, $2,000 in gold. And now, I come to collect. I burned it, left that life behind. Delaney's grin faded. Gunfire cracked like thunder. Calder took a bullet to the shoulder and dropped to one knee. Inside, Naya heard everything. For the first time in months, her heart raced, not from fear, but from something deeper, the fear of losing him. Her hand gripped the windowsill. Her foot, lifeless for months, twitched. Outside, Calder still had his revolver. He shot one man, then another, but Delaney raised his rifle. Then, crack, a shot rang out from the cabin window. Delaney crumpled forward, his gold tooth glinting one last time. Naya stood in the doorway, rifle in her trembling hands, legs barely holding her up. "No more," she whispered hoarsely. It was the first word Calder ever heard from her. Chapter 4, Wounds and Warmth. Calder awoke days later, his shoulder stitched, his fever broken. "You saved me," he whispered. Naya sat beside him, her thin fingers laced with his. "You saved me first." Her voice was soft, gravelly, but strong. She had begun walking again, though each step came with pain and effort. The doctor from town said it was possible her paralysis was partial, trauma-induced, not permanent. With every sunrise, she grew stronger. She told Calder about her people, the Comanche ways, the songs of her grandmother, and the betrayal of her capture by the cavalry. And Calder? He told her about his outlaw past, how he rode with killers and thieves, and how guilt haunted him every night. "You can't change the trail behind," she said one night as they watched the stars. "Only the one ahead." It was the first time Calder cried. Chapter 5, A Horse and a Name. By autumn, Calder built a special saddle for Naya so she could ride again. They took the trail together, her hair flying in the wind, laughter returning to her lips. The townsfolk of Deadwood were slow to change. Some still whispered when they saw her, but others began tipping their hats, especially after word spread that she shot Frank Delaney dead with one clean shot. "She's a Comanche bride who broke a gunman," the blacksmith said once. "She ain't to be pitied. She's to be respected." One morning, Calder rode to the ridge with Naya behind him. He brought her to a bluff overlooking a field of wildflowers. "I never gave you a proper ring," he said, pulling out a small silver band carved with feathers and stars. "But I can give you my name, if you'll take it." "I already did," Naya whispered, "on the day you bought me for $5 and gave me freedom instead." They kissed, the kind of kiss that tastes like ash and honey, earned through fire, kept through loyalty. Epilogue, redemption rides slow. Years passed. Naya and Calder's cabin grew into a home. She walked with a cane, rode with grace, and opened her doors to orphan children and broken things, just as Calder had opened his heart to her. They never had children of their own, but they were parents to many, and those scars remained. On her body, in his soul, they built a life out of ruin. In the dusty ledger of Deadwood's history, there was a tale folks told over whiskey and fire, the outlaw who bought a broken girl and found a warrior woman instead. Not a story of pity, but one of love and redemption.